Hey, what's up, bro? I'm just gonna give you a quick rundown of the truck. Basic do's and don'ts. Center wheel hubs, they're 25 bucks. It's always good to have an extra one. Never, ever, ever touch this in the cold weather because it's like glass. Your finger will go right through it. There's oil in there, and that's what goes into your wheel hub. Basically, you take that cap out to seal it. If it ever is leaking or has any issues, make sure you get it looked at immediately because you will lose your entire wheel. Basically, there's a bearing in there. For the engine, what I usually check is the steering shaft. I'll shake this around, make sure it's good, no more than like 1.5 inches of play. I always check this bar here. It goes to your steering, make sure it's tight. It's common with these Volvos that gets loose, and you'll have really bad shaking in your steering wheel. Power steering, pretty self-explanatory. There's an O-ring in there that goes bad. It's like $3. Leaks really bad. Your airline fittings, all that's right here. Air manifold, you will probably have leaks in this. You take soapy water, you spray it in there. For example, small leak, that's very minor. Can't even hear it. But if you could hear it blowing air, then you could replace it. Every single one of these air fittings, there's a little small O-ring in there. So, for example, right here, the hose goes in, you push this little piece inward and you can pull your hose out. And then this little piece actually comes right out. And inside of this brass fitting, once this little piece is off, you can look in there. There's an O-ring in there and you can dig it out with a paper clip. You can slide the new O-ring in, put this little crown is what they call it back in, and you can slide your hose back in. This piece right here is your air governor. Underneath there, this screws off and there's a bolt in there, and you could adjust how much air pressure you have in your truck if your truck's running low. That part's like $30. I replaced mine maybe a year ago. What else do we got? Hood latches, these break all the time. It's super common. Either this will break the cable or underneath the steering wheel when you pull it. And so if you need to get into your truck with this broken, you can't release it, you can stick your hand under the hood and you push that in on each side, and that will open the hood. If you want to put a boost gauge inside your truck, that's the plug right there. You can get an aftermarket boost gauge on eBay for like 25 bucks. You just run it. I ran it right through and I pushed it through right there, and then you just run the gauge right inside, negative, positive, pretty self-explanatory. Over here, battery side, on your negative right here, there's a little bitty baby wire, and on your positive over here, there's a positive baby wire. That goes to your computer, your ECM of the truck, and they get corroded, and it's a huge pain in the ass. You'll be driving down the road, and your RPMs and all your gauges will drop. That's the reason right there. Corrosion. I replaced these about a year ago, and they're already corroding, so I'm gonna have to replace that sooner or later. This is really cool. Got this on Amazon. It's called NOCO. It's just a plug, it's all it is, because on these trucks the engine heater plug breaks out. So I put that there. It looks OEM kind of, and it runs under here, okay? And I got a double plug, one here, and there's another one right back there. And one goes to the engine heater, the block heater. In the wintertime, I leave this plugged in. And the other one right there went to Walmart, and I picked up that guy. It was like 40 bucks. It's underrated for this, okay? So it's underrated for having 4 batteries, but it does a fantastic job. I'll plug this in the wintertime when I'm not driving. It'll keep all of my batteries charged, as well as the engine oil, or not the oil, the coolant at a decent temperature. So that's that. Fuel water separator, yours might be on the driver's side, mine's over here. Usually replace the filters like every, I don't know, 8,000 miles roughly. Otherwise it'll kind of run like shit because these Volvos are notorious for it. Always make sure that your coolant is above this. That's usually like the minimum mark. Usually anywhere right in here is ideal. I'm down a hill, so that's why it kind of is messed up. Air filters are like 45 bucks, replace it once every year. There's a cabin air filter right up in here. It's like $12, I think. Air compressor on the truck's right there. It's got a couple quick connections, same thing, the whole truck. Runs into the fan there. Some of these fans you cannot spin and some you can. Always inspect that. Make sure there's not a lot of play or shaft play, because if that fan blade goes through a radiator, you're really in bad shape. Your exhaust bracket right back there, that thing goes bad all the time. It's like $8. It vibrates, rattles loose. You'll see black soot all over that area. It's on the back of the turbo. Very good to get that replaced. This right here is a turbo, I can't remember what they call it, a turbo inlet or something or other. And there's two O-rings. There's an O-ring right there and an O-ring right there. And if you wiggle that and it moves around freely, then your O-rings are bad. O-rings are very cheap. It's a pain in the ass to replace them, but if that goes bad, your truck will run horribly. Diesel tanks. I had this happen actually the other day. Pretty awesome. Not really, it sucked. So these hoses, they just run right there. That's it. They're little vent hoses. There's one on here and there's one right over there. And they get clogged up right on the end of the tip. You pull this out, and on the other end you can clean it out with a screwdriver or, you know, whatever. So if those get clogged, your tanks will not balance out level. Basically, like, that tank will be 100% full and this tank will have barely any in it, and your truck will pretty much die out because your fuel cannot level out. So that's kind of horrible. On the back of your cab, I don't know if you'll have this or not. Yours is a few years older than mine. Got a leveling valve there that controls the ride quality basically of the cab. You've got bag here, bag over there, and two little small shocks. If your cab is leaning to one way, there's a bar right here, and they go bad all the time. There's bushings in it right there and right there. Huge pain in the ass to change, but if your cab leans, then that's that. You've got underneath there that Wabacco. That's a air dryer filter. You're supposed to change those like every time the climate changes, like from winter to summer type deal. I change mine usually in the winter time and then like midsummer, because it's a filter for your air system that charges your air. I just did my leveling valve right there. That's your leveling valve. If you ever have an issue where your tires are not balanced with your frame, so your tires should sit right dead even with your frame. Otherwise, you'll have a really bouncy ride. And these leveling valves, they go bad all the time, okay? So, that guy there, and it's a metal bar. It goes straight down. The metal bar connects into the frame on that bottom dot. The older trucks, they have a plastic bar, and the plastic bars, they drop all the time. So you'll be driving down the road, everything's great, having a great day, and then all of a sudden it'll feel like you're riding down a mountain. And that's usually the reason why. What else, man? That's usually all the stuff I check, you know, before I head out. Small stuff. Yeah. Trying to think of other stuff. Showed you all the cool stuff. The struts here, you can get those on Amazon. New and used section, they're like $13 a pop. They should be the same for yours. These airbags, if you need to replace an airbag, there's a ton of videos on YouTube about it. Same deal. Pull this back, you pop the hose out. There's two bolts that hold this on. One directly under it and one right there. Usually guys put a hammer right here in the frame, and that way when you take the bag out, the frame won't drop too far and you can get it in and out. Torsion bars are $100. Always inspect the yolks, make sure that they're solid, because if those go bad, then your whole truck's going to shake basically. There's one here and there's one in front of your fifth wheel or whatever sort of towing plate that you have for the RV. If your exhaust on your truck is bad, a lot of them go bad. There's a fat muffler usually here, and on the tip there's a chrome pipe. Usually that tip, it'll slowly turn around, and it happened on mine, and it happened on a buddy, and it'll burn your truck down if you don't catch it. So I replaced it with a straight pipe, and I just got some metal from Home Depot and welded brackets straight, drilled a couple holes, and straight piped it because it was cheaper than buying a muffler. What else? Airlines. I don't know if you have airlines on your RV or not, but always make sure that they don't have any cuts in them. It's very, very easy to get cuts in them on this catwalk or anywhere really. And I wrapped them up in this as well. It protects them and saves you a lot of issue, because if DOT ever sees you with cuts in your airlines, or if your airlines are touching the catwalk, it's a ticket or a violation or whatever. I know your circumstances are a little bit different, but anything to save you some money. Inside, got a little setup there. CB on bottom, radio, and my tablet. Kind of cool. And that's where I ran my boost gauge. So, not bad. A little battery charger there. It's a fast, quick charger for the phones and stuff on the left side there. It's like $12 on Amazon, dual port, something or other. Then I got a fat brick right there that was like $12. GPS, always make sure it's underneath the windshield wiper blades, because they can pull you over for that too, because technically it's a commercial vehicle. So mine's just kind of hidden. A little dash camera, I'd highly recommend that. They're very inexpensive. Get one with Bluetooth ideally, because you're gonna see shit all the time if you're driving a lot, but better to have than not type of deal. Those are the LEDs I just got. They were 40 bucks. Pretty cool. Swapped out these side LED markers, and your truck will throw codes for these. You got to take it to the dealership to get it reprogrammed for LEDs. But it's like 50 bucks, I think. Hood mirrors are inexpensive. I think they're $10. That's about all I got for you right now at the moment. Oh, another thing. There's plates inside of here. Little rubber pieces of nothing, basically. You can kind of see it how it moves. They fall out all the time. They will fall out. And they're like $8, but you'll go to a shop and you'll say, I got some vibration or whatever. They'll say, oh, it's a tire. It's a tire. You'll say, okay, yeah, fix it for me. And you'll spend $1,000, $2,000, and it will not fix the issue. So there's that. Your drive shafts, they're very common to leak. So you can inspect them. You can even lay on the ground underneath and push up and make sure there's not a lot of play. It'll move a little bit, but make sure it's not crazy amount of play. There's this thing here too. That is a carrier bearing. This whole bracket, that's rubber on the inside, that holds your drive shaft. They're $60, and they go bad all the time, every couple years. If you want to do your differential fluid, that's at Tractor Supply Store. I think they were $50 for a 5-gallon bucket, and your differential, the front one and the rear one here, each one will take roughly 4 gallons. And if you do it yourself, that's the fill plug, and the drain one's actually down here, not this, but down there. And I think 150,000 or 200,000, something crazy like that. If you take the truck to get serviced at a Speedco or a Loves or any type of semi truck, they're gonna want, I think, 400, 450 to do it. And I mean, it took me an hour, maybe 2 hours to do both of them myself, and I saved a shitload of money. So why not? Yeah, that's about it, man. I don't know. A lot of random shit, you know. Always make sure all your lights work. Ideally, your reverse light too. Make sure that works, because you can get a ticket if your reverse light doesn't work. I don't know how strict they are on RVs and towing and whatnot, or if you have to stop in the scales, but it's better to make sure that all your stuff is in good shape. You have wheel seals in the back of these guys. Very common, very inexpensive, but if a mechanic has to come out and fix it for you, it's insanely crazy. You can basically check in the back and you'll see liquid back here. It'll look like oil, and that's how you can kind of tell. A lot of the times DOT will even take a flashlight and shine it in there. You're laying on the ground and you shine it in and you can see oil, and that indicates a wheel seal is bad. So more money, more problems, right? Brake pads, you can always see your brake pads right here. I usually take a glance at all of mine. For the most part, these trucks have self-adjusting brake pads. There's like 8 nipples back here, greasing nipples. Always make sure, you know, I think there's like 2 on each axle. Not 100% sure. One here, and there's one somewhere down around in there. I usually try to have the other guys, you know, want to take it to the shop, grease it for me. It's just a lot more convenient. I bought a Harbor Freight grease gun and it was horrible. But DeWalt makes a pretty good one. That's about all I got for you. That's all I got.